All right, welcome to Locked On Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app. Have a ton of draft content covering Miami's pick of Kasparas Jakucionis here. And in a minute, I'm going to be joined by Tyler Metcalf from the No Ceilings YouTube channel. Tremendous resource for all things NBA draft, scouting, prospects, college basketball, and the like. So really excited to talk to him in a minute about why Kaz might have slid to Miami at 20, whether or not he has any concerns in his game and is fit with the Miami Heat. Here we go.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm here with Tyler Metcalf from No Ceilings. Awesome YouTube channel, tremendous resource for the NBA draft, breakdowns on prospects, a ton of draft talk, and one of my favorite go-tos when I'm doing all my draft prep. So let's just jump right in. The Heat take Kasparas Jakucionis at 20. The big story is why he was even there in the first place. Do you have any insights into why he fell? Because ESPN had him 11. I know you guys had him really high. A lot of people had him as a projected lottery pick. Why did he end up there at 20 for Miami?
Honestly, no clue. And a bit of it is just the kind of chaos that went on ahead of Miami's pick. The Hanson Yang pick threw things into disarray. I think a lot of people were surprised by Yegor Demon going at 8. Mm-hmm. We had him mocked there, but Kasparas just felt like the kind of talent that maybe a team just would have traded up for. I know a lot of teams in like that late lottery range in their mid first round really liked him, but every year we see just someone inevitably fall because of one or two chaos picks ahead. And then teams, he was probably number 2 on a lot of teams' boards, and they just went with the other guy. And then, obviously Utah trading up ahead of Miami to take Walter Clayton, push him down even further. Everything we were hearing was Walter Clayton was a lock to go 20 to Miami. And then all of a sudden, a guy who I had at 8 on my board falls into their lap at 20.
So I kind of hypothesize the same thing, right? Sometimes there's really no specific, people want to find like a specific reason. Oh my God, something happened in this guy's background or whatever to cause him to fall. I did the same thing. He's probably number 2 on everybody's board, but the number 1 guy on their board was just there and they went ahead and took him. I did a little bit of poking around in terms of, hey, was there injury concerns? We know that he was dealing with the arm injury. That is not a concern. It's not showing up in any of the stuff. I'm sure you're hearing the same thing. He just sort of fell. And you look at the logical landing spots. Brooklyn at 8. Portland, I thought at 11 made a lot of sense. But, of course, they trade back. Memphis moves up to get their guy, Cedric Coward, who was a guy that I really liked. I never thought he was going to fall to 20. But I also didn't think Kaz would fall to 20. So here we are. But and then Portland just goes crazy and takes Chinese Joker at 16. So you keep going down the list. We're like, I guess there wasn't any real logical landing spot, and Miami has him fall into his lap. I don't know how high the Heat were on Miami. I was hearing the same stuff about Walter Clayton Jr. It's so tough to know with Miami how much of it is smoke or not. I kind of think they really did like him.
Yeah.
But I also think that they're really excited to get their hands on a guy like Jakucionis here because they don't really have a guy like that on the roster. But let's dive into a little bit of the scouting report. I know you've done a ton of work on him. What do you like about his game?
For starters, he's just a pro. Out of all of the guys that I watched this year in person, I know this sounds cliche, but his workout was by far the most impressive. And it was exactly what you see from guys who like NBA guards, where he's working on like that off foot, like funky footwork finishes and finishing through contact and finishing at weird angles and being off balance. And it was really high intensity, a lot of variety. And we see that like that's great on its own. But then when we see it pop up in games with the creative finishing and the rim pressure and the way that he utilizes that weird, funky footwork to get to wherever he wants and finishes through contact, it's like, oh, okay, so stuff you're working on, you're immediately turning it around and applying it to the game. That's really fun. And then, as a person, and he was going up into the stands with talking to Illinois fans and signing autographs, taking pictures with kids. This is during their warm up because they had, driven up to Minnesota and he was going out of his way to connect with them. Awesome person, work ethic, all that stuff off the charts. But then even on the court, great positional size, one of the most creative and dynamic playmakers in the class, needs to fix the turnovers. I buy the shot. You mentioned the arm injury, definitely factored in, but can play on or off ball. Really creative player.
Today's episode of Locked On Heat is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money that you save on the tickets, you could splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it all possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. And they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Is there a player comp that you like for him to help Heat fans maybe get a clearer picture?
Yeah, the two names that I've kind of kept going to are like Andrew Nembhard and Chauncey Billups.
I love those. I've loved both of those. Those are great. Yeah. And it fits a lot of what Miami needs because they're looking for, I don't know, you're not really going to find a primary playmaker probably at 20. Nembhard certainly does a lot of secondary. Almost, it's probably unfair to Halliburton to call Nembhard the 1B on that team, but it's as close to a 1B as you'd get, right? It's more than a secondary playmaker. Does run a lot of pick and roll. Lets Halliburton play off the ball a little bit more. And Rick Carlisle always talks about having 2 point guards in the starting lineup. And I kind of feel like that might be the Jakucionis path too. It's probably not the number one option on a high level offense, but could be maybe a 1B or a 2A or however we want to phrase it. So Adam Simon, the Heat GM, kept using the word toughness when it came to Jakucionis. You talked about his character a little bit, but why do you think he kept going back to toughness as a key word there? Because I didn't see that a lot in the scouting report write-ups with him. So I'm wondering if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, and the Illinois team battled a ton of injuries and illnesses and stuff throughout the season. And he was part of that too with the forearm injury. And he probably could have shut it down or, sat out for a week or something, tried to let it heal, but they desperately needed him. And he just kind of kept coming back over and over and over. And, the physical toughness, I think he plays really physical, but, he's not like a get in your face type of guy. But every time you knock him down, he's getting back up immediately. And I think it's more so that mental toughness of fighting through adversity, always going to bat for his guys, always trying to give everything he has. Even if the shot isn't falling, he's not going to shy away from it. Even if, he commits a turnover here or there, he's not going to shy away from trying to set up his teammate the next possession. It's kind of like that short-term memory that we talk about with quarterbacks. It's that ability to bounce back through adversity, even when he's having an off night.
Let's talk about the turnovers a little bit. That's the biggest con with him. You and I buy his shot. You already said that. I said that in our immediate reaction afterwards. The turnovers are an issue. And, again, in my poking around, what was the stat that I was texting with a scout? They actually gave me a stat. I'm checking it now. Awesome radio while I check my messages. 24 turnovers in the last 4 games, which is not awesome.
Yeah.
What's your concern level on the turnovers?
Yeah, and on the season turnover rate of 25.4, which is really, really high. Ideally, you'd like that to be 20 or lower. And my biggest issue with it is that it seemed like I don't worry too much about the passing stuff because he was like by far the most dynamic and high volume playmaker on the team. So like some of the passing stuff, I think is him trying to force the issue a little bit, especially during those stretches where they had guys in and out of the lineup and you're just trying to get guys going. The playmaking stuff, I don't worry about it too much. It's more so the handle that can get a little loose, like when he gets into the middle of the floor, when he tries to attack gap coverage and tries to split defenders. It can get a little high, it can get a little loose, and like those off-ball digs from help defenders can be more disruptive than they should be. So he's definitely got to tighten that up. And when we look at the turnovers, that's definitely my bigger concern rather than any of the passing accuracy or decision-making stuff.
Would you consider him a creative passer? Like what?
Yeah.
At what level is he as a pick and roll ball handler? What's he doing on the court? What's he seeing?
He really good floor vision, really creative, runs an awesome 2-man game. So like
Mm.
some of the stuff that like him and Bam and him and Khalil Ware can potentially run, I think should be really fun. He's the way he moves off screens, stops on a dime, reads his defender really well. So if they're really trying to fight through and blow it up, he'll stop on a dime, peel back, and then one of my favorite clips is he did that with Tomislav Ivicic, his center, and immediately cut back, went back to where he came from, got the pass, drop defender went with him, and he immediately kicked it back to Ivicic for the wide open three. So like that kind of stuff happens a ton. And then just the way that he implements that change of pace, that funky footwork, gets to his spots, it just inevitably draws help defenders. And he's really good at shifting angles to set up rollers, set up divers, cutters, and pretty good passing vision out of drives. Reading the weak side, the passing stuff that gets a little wonky is when he's more on the perimeter trying to read the weak side. Like those skip passes get a little too inconsistent, but when he gets into the paint and is able to kind of distribute from there, that's where I feel like he's at his best.
We talked already on draft night on this show about what Jakucionis could do for the Heat roster, but I'm curious, what do you think the Heat could do for Jakucionis? What do you think about this fit for him from his perspective?
I love it because I think, we talked about him being that combo guard. He's, technically a point guard, but he can play on or off ball. He is in like the 68th percentile in spot up scoring. So Tyler Herro has obviously emerged as one of their primary creators. So I don't think he's going to affect any of that at all, but instead take some of those responsibilities away from him and just make his life easier, where he can pivot back more towards being that shooting guard and second side creator. That's a little more of a comfortable and natural fit for him. And then just, Heat culture, blah, blah, blah. But it's real, or it's out there for a reason. And I think his approach to the game, I think his, how much he cares, how much he works at it is going to fit like a glove. And I would be shocked if the second half of the season is what the shot looks like in the long run. I'd be floored. I think he's a really competitive defender, not much of a defensive playmaker, but the way he gets through screens, moves his feet really well, rarely out of position, I think is a perfect fit. And it honestly wouldn't shock me if he's pretty quickly one of their starting point guards.
Love it. Tyler Metcalf, no ceilings. Thanks so much for the time, man.
Anytime.